Welcome to a new episode of Fastpitch Focus here on Midco Sports. I'm Jason Andera. Today, we'll fill you in on a 4-home run performance from Andrea Miller. We'll also visit with the head coach of West Central, a team that has had a gauntlet of a schedule and come out unscathed. And we'll talk with the top team in Class B from Alcester-Hudson, exactly how they're getting it done this year. Let's get started in Class AA, then we'll talk about Class A and Class B as well, so stay tuned. In Class AA, a lot of competitive games, and last couple weeks, some teams are beating up on each other, but here's the way I see the top 5 right now. Lincoln still at number 1. They did just lose to Jefferson on Tuesday. Jefferson now on a 6-game winning streak. They are definitely an improved team. I boosted them up to number 3, but Harrisburg hangs in there at number 2. Harrisburg lost to Brookings on May 5, but Brookings couldn't capitalize and move up the rankings any further after losing to Washington and O'Gorman since then. And speaking of Washington and O'Gorman, two teams you really have to consider. O'Gorman now has won 7 in a row, but it's Yankton, who's won 8 out of their last 9, who take that last spot in the top 5. Yankton's been more offense than anything, crushing the ball. Tori Velick hitting over 400. Ellie Fieser, 4-hit game, and Peyton Moser, a 5-hit game on Tuesday, as Yankton continues to look like a team that you have to worry about as they move into the rankings. Let's talk about some of the big pitching performances we've seen, not only over the last couple of weeks, but this entire season. Madison Evans of Lincoln, one of the big reasons they come in at number 1. 65 innings logged so far this year, 123 strikeouts, and has kept that ERA tidy at 2.15 with less than a walk and hit per inning so far this year. Let's talk about Whitney Portner of Jefferson. She came in and played against Lincoln Tuesday and showed why she could be one of the top performing pitchers in the circle this season in AA. 7 innings, just 1 earned run, gave up 4 hits to a very powerful Lincoln lineup, got the 3-2 win, and before that, threw a shutout against Sturgis with 9 strikeouts, so watch out for her. Harrisburg, one of the top teams, and they've got one of the top duos in the circle this year. Cora Payne and Madeline Ducheneau have done a great job, and they've alternated pitching almost all season long. Ducheneau, 7 innings, 3 earned runs, 8 strikeouts against Washington in a big win for them. And Payne, a 5-inning shutout against Rapid City Central with 8 strikeouts earlier last week. Brookings also has some pitchers to watch for. Gracie Adamson, 7 innings, no earned runs, got the shutout with 14 strikeouts in a loss, a 1-0 loss to O'Gorman. So she pitched, did her job against OG, but was outdueled by another great pitcher that we've seen this year, Kira Mentally. And Kira went 7 innings, 14 strikeouts, gave up just 1 hit in that 1-0 win over Brookings. And on the season, 90 strikeouts in 51 2/3 innings. And she has been on fire in May. Since May started, has pitched 19 innings, has given up just 3 walks, and is really starting to find her groove. We got some big games coming up here in AA over the next week or so. Brookings takes on Yankton on Friday. This will be a really interesting week for Yankton as they take on Brookings, and then next Tuesday take on Lincoln. We'll see if they can hang with some of the top teams in AA. Speaking of Brookings, they come off that Yankton game on Friday, play again on Monday against Harrisburg, and again on the road. So, again, a proving ground for Brookings to see how they do against a couple of ranked opponents. Jefferson and O'Gorman, maybe the 2 top teams right now as far as who's the hottest right now in May. And they meet each other, by the way, Jefferson and O'Gorman do on Tuesday. That will be some must-see softball going on in Sioux Falls. So look for those big games coming up in AA. In Class A, it has really been about West Central. And if you've paid attention to club softball, you know that West Central has been a power for years, And this team in the first year of sanctioned softball, picking up right where that club softball team left off. They are dominating, and they just had a real gauntlet of a schedule over the last couple of weeks. Got 2 wins over Dakota Valley, beat teams like Winter, got a 1-run win against Del Rapids in a close one. They took out Madison, so they're not only just beating the teams up, they're beating ranked teams up. And we caught up with their head coach, Heather Harden, and a few of the players on the team to find out what's working well in West Central.
It's that dedication, it's that hard work, it's that passion for the game that comes through. You can see at practice they're giving 100% always, and having a little fun along the way too, and that makes a big difference. We're looking at staying focused. We work hard on our batting, and the girls work very hard in practice trying to put down bunts. Everyone has to put down a bunt. Then if we get the long game going, we're stringing together hits, and our defense is top notch behind our pitchers, from the catcher all the way around to the field, grabbing those hits that get out into the outfield and bringing them in, hitting relays. I'm just super proud of how hard they work.
This team has hit over 20 homers so far, led by Emily Stofferin and Caitlin Hoff, but they want to make sure they're not swinging for the fences.
Yard is just like part of it. It's like we always aim for base hits, getting people on, talking to each other, making sure we're all on the same page, and bringing up together, like working together, getting base hits, and then sometimes just home runs happen, and I mean we get hyped for those too. But it's the base hits that really get us going and get us rolling. Like Izzy is killer with being the first on. She is almost always on the base, and then Hannah, and then me, Emily. It's just our lineup is stacked, and everyone can crush it, but everyone can also get base hits and do what they're supposed to do.
Over the last 2 weeks, they've played 9 games, 5 of them against ranked teams, and they've scored 115 runs and haven't lost.
Yeah, we've had a lot of games, but I mean, honestly, we're just giving 110 effort no matter how many games we play. I mean, honestly, we could probably play 20 more this week.
West Central is off to a great start, but their goals are bigger. They've won 7 state titles in a row in the fall, and now they'd love to keep it going now that they're playing in the spring.
That's always the final goal, is to win the 7-peat that we have going, but we always play with a target on our back, never to give up, that somebody's always out to get us, and that we got to play hard and to get the end goal.
Despite the target on their back, they keep it chill and they have a great time.
I mean, honestly, most times we can't stop laughing. I mean, we're always like bonding together. We're always upbeat, but we know when it's time to focus that we can sure focus.
So there's a proud team doing some things to make their community proud. Izzy Parsons leads the lineup off, has had an excellent season, leads the team in hits and batting average so far. The top half of this lineup is just killer, with Hannah Wraith's 11 doubles for her on the season so far. And then you got Caitlin Hoff hitting in that 3-hole, who's put 7 balls over the fence so far this year. And then Emily Stofferin, another power hitter in the middle of that lineup. Jocelyn Nielsen for West Central. And the lineup just continues to pound you in that 5 through 9 spot as well. And we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the pitching as well. Caitlin Hoff and Emily Stofferin and Kaylee Olson have done an excellent job pitching for West Central this year. Hoff, 26 innings of work, 0.27 ERA, 0.577 whip, and 58 strikeouts, over 2 strikeouts per inning so far for Caitlin Hoff. And when Kaylee Olson has come in and pitched, she has done well too. 15 strikeouts in her 8 innings of work with no earned runs so far this year. And Emily Stofferin has also done a nice job coming in and starting a few games for West Central. So this is a team that really has elite talent at the plate and elite talent throwing the ball. No wonder they come in at number 1 in the rankings after a really tough week getting it done. At number 2, Del Rapids, their only scratch of the season was that 1-run loss to West Central just over a week ago. They've really had some good tests. They played against Arlington for a couple of games. Arlington, of course, a ranked B team, but it's Katie Cavigny who has been pitching great, and then JC Tebay is absolutely crushing the ball. And by the way, if I'm not pronouncing these names wrong, if I am pronouncing these names wrong, just let me know. But those two have been leading what has been a really good Class A team, and the team that has given West Central the toughest game so far this year. Coming in at number 3, Madison, an 11-3 start. They lost early in the year to Dakota Valley, but they have looked very strong lately. And speaking of who's been looking strong, Amanda Vacanti struck out 9 versus West Central in their one game. No other pitcher has overpowered the Trojans like that so far this year. Didn't get the win, but looked really good throwing for Madison in that West Central game. And by the way, 6 RBIs on Tuesday, and how did she do that? Well, she hit 3 homers against Coleman Egan in the second half of that doubleheader. In the first half of the doubleheader, pitched 3 innings, got 9 strikeouts. So Amanda Vacanti having a tremendous season for Madison. At number 4, Dakota Valley. This is a team got off to a great start this year and then really tested themselves over the last couple of weeks. They look good, but they did come out with a few losses. They challenged themselves with 2 games against West Central. They had 4 games against Double-A competition, and in those 4 games went 2-2, so not bad. And then they also played the top team in Class B in Alcester-Hudson, and that was an epic game, back and forth, 16-15. They grinded out a 1-run win. And then next week they'll take on Del Rapids, and then they got West Central to round out their regular season a week from Saturday. So Dakota Valley will be battle-tested, that's for sure. Look for them as we approach playoff season just around the corner. Also in the top 5, T-Area. They're definitely still a top 5 team. They have also challenged themselves with some Double-A competition, playing against Brandon Valley and Harrisburg coming up here soon. And then they've got Del Rapids on Saturday. So they'll have some really big tests in front of them to try to get into playoff form before the playoffs start in a couple of weeks. Let's take a look at Class B. And these Class B teams, they have a lot of athletes that play in multiple sports, and they have to try to schedule around track meets and things like that. So they don't have as many games in, but they've had some really exciting teams so far this year. None more exciting than Alcester-Hudson. And they just have the 1 loss when they played against a ranked team in Class A against Dakota Valley. We talked about it a little bit during the Class A segment with Dakota Valley, but this Alcester-Hudson team played an epic game, 16-15 against Dakota Valley. We wanted to catch up with their head coach, Dean Moller, to talk about their season so far this year.
A majority of this team probably hasn't played the game in 4 to 6 years, and so, but they've came a long ways in a short time. They're very impressive. Great group of girls. I mean, they're athletic. They're fun to watch. We've done very well so far this year. Record 7-1. We're undefeated going into Saturday. Played a very tough Dakota Valley team right away Saturday morning, and that was a fun game. Went 2 extra innings, came down to the end, and they ended up getting us by 1, but I will give it to these girls. They never gave up, kept fighting the whole way through, and it was fun. Yeah, it's been impressive. I did not expect that coming into the season, and these girls have stepped up. They've spent a lot of time in the cage, and it's paying off. I mean, they're hitting the ball very, very well. Some of them surprising me that I didn't see coming. I guess I didn't know what to expect. I knew we were all in for a learning year this first year. I mean, every team, every school, I knew it would be a learning curve, and it still is a learning curve, but it's been good. Yeah, we're still all learning, and I see improvement every day in these girls, and I hope they just keep getting better and better, and hope we can make it to the postseason.
Great to catch up with Alcester-Hudson and their head coach, Dean Moller, but it's really been Emma Moller in the circle that has starred here. I know she's just a sophomore, how far she can possibly carry this Alcester-Hudson team, but it's a total team effort. They are getting it done at the plate. Defensively, they've been strong. A team that just loves to generate runs, and they have a lot of fun doing it. So watch out for those Alcester-Hudson Cubs who come in at number 1 in the Class B rankings. In number 2, Arlington. Their only losses came to Del Rapids, and they took out Castlewood with a 10-9 and a 10-6 win. And if you've watched Class B softball, you know Castlewood a really good team as well. So Arlington, Castlewood in at 2-3. Castlewood has challenged themselves with some games against Class A teams, and then those 2 losses to Arlington, so they are definitely in the mix. But let's talk about Gayville-Vollen at number 4. They lost to Bonhomme early, but then came back, got a win against them in the really last part of April with a 3-1 close game win. But it was junior Andrea Miller who was really the star against Viborg Hurley last week. We didn't have a show last week, so we couldn't highlight this, but we wanted to go back a couple weeks, actually, when Andrea Miller of Gayville-Vollen hit not 1, not 2, not 3, 4 home runs in a single game and put it out of the park on every single one of those. Look at that swing. She is somebody to fear, somebody who has been hitting home runs a long time this year. 7 homers so far on the season, and somebody who can just rip it. But congratulations. That was a close game. It was back and forth early on, and then Gayville-Vollen took charge as Andrea Miller hit her 3rd and 4th home runs, and actually that 4th home run gave them the 10-run lead and ended the game and got the win. But it took a lot of offense in that game, and Andrea Miller supplied it. So congratulations to the junior from Gayville-Vollen, Andrea Miller, on a huge day. In at number 5, Bonhomme, they lost to Viborg Hurley, and I think Viborg Hurley is definitely a good team in Class B, and they're right on the outskirts of these rankings right now. But Bonhomme lost to Viborg Hurley and Wagner, but still a team that I feel is one of those top 5 teams so far in Class B. It'll be really interesting to see how these teams improve as we get toward that playoff stretch, because these are teams, again, that haven't gotten a ton of games in, and as they get more and more games, you're going to see some of these offenses really explode, and it's going to be a lot of fun as we approach the state tournament in Class B. Well, there's your look at Fastpitch Focus for this week. We'll come on again to preview the playoffs here in just a couple more weeks. As always, let me know if you have any questions, ideas, suggestions, or anything else concerning Fastpitch softball. Love talking about the sport, and thank you for watching.